But we start today's telecast remembering Mike Moroney. It was only last Saturday he would have left Caulfield thinking, I've got my next Group 1 winner in Cur Volant, and we'll find out her fate in the Coolmore Classic in a couple of weeks' time.
Cur Volant 4 or 5 lengths in front and is going to bolt up.
Gave her a nice long break up there and it's going to pay off. And she's just, the whole demeanour's starting to change now.
Mike won 55 Group 1 races, pretty evenly spread from New Zealand and Australia. And of course he won a Melbourne Cup at the start of this century with a horse called Brew.
And Brew draws away to win the Melbourne Cup.
Ridden by 20-year-old Kira McAvoy from barrier 22 and carrying saddlecloth 24.
Michael Moroney has provided first and third from his team of 3.
A little bit lost for words as far, and the mouth isn't working that well at the moment, but certainly a race I've been trying to win for a while.
Mike was such a versatile trainer, Blue Diamonds through big sprints all the way through those Oaks and Derbies, numerous, and that Melbourne Cup. Tafani in recent years was outstanding. She won 4 Group 1s in 3 different states.
But Tafani has controlled it and will win the Ore.
And Rocket Horse won the 150th Newmarket Handicap at a record price of 100 to 1, first up after 8 weeks.
It's going to be an absolute boil-over. Rocket Horse won the Newmarket.
What a training performance. Every trainer looks for their Pegasus, and Mike finishes with a horse called Excellent. He won the New Zealand Derby at just his 3rd start. He lost just 1 race in New Zealand throughout his whole career, and his 3rd place behind Makybe Diva in the 2005 Melbourne Cup was phenomenal, but not as good as his first up performance as a 4-year-old when he won the Mudgeway Stakes at Group 1 in New Zealand. It was out of this world.
Look at Excellent flying right down the outside.
Much loved, highly respected, always remembered. And Richo, he set up shop in Victoria at a training establishment that is fabled in Flemington history.
The iconic Chiquita Lodge Brew, so synonymous with the great race, the Melbourne Cup. Mike Moroney ended up saddling up 24 runners, a full field in the Melbourne Cup over the years. He'll never forget that moment when he was 1st and 3rd with Brew and 2nd coming. He described Brew in the mounting yard, his coat looked like it was cut out of chocolate. Mike was a student of the game. He was incredible company over a glass of red, reminiscing about his great horses, his opinion on the game that he loved so much. Racing lost an absolute great one, and in Australia and New Zealand we'll pay tribute to him throughout the next coming weeks. Em and Katie, we lost a great one. I'll be grabbing a glass of red tonight, a Pinot, one of Mike's Pinots, and saying, job well done, mate.
I think we all will, Richo, an absolute gentleman of the sport, a gentle giant. And KM, you had the great opportunity to ride for him on many occasions during your illustrious career in a saddle, but he was a very astute trainer and a bloke that we're going to miss a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. He was a gentleman, as you said, Em, and one of my last winners in Melbourne was for Mike, and this is Van Dancer winning. He was just always a support, even when you weren't going so well as a jockey, he'd always throw you a ride, and just every morning it was always a pleasure to see him and a pleasure to ride for him.
So you'd see him, the trainer's hut at Flemington, nearly every day, and always a wonderful personality to be around.
Yeah, absolutely. He was one of the best, and look at that record. It was incredible. He was such a top trainer. It was a privilege to ride for him. And 55 Group 1s. He had a great career.
55 Group 1s is nothing to sneeze at, and of course he was inducted into the New Zealand Hall of Fame, and that Melbourne Cup back in 2000, one of the most iconic Melbourne Cups that we've had probably in the last 50 years, belongs to Mike Moroney. And I tell you what, there is a racing god, because after hearing of the news that Mike had passed on Thursday morning at Pakenham that night, the only runner that he had, Burlington Gate, salutes.
Yeah, he would have been riding very hard up there, and it's amazing how those racing gods can really get behind a situation like this. And obviously our thoughts are with his family over in New Zealand and here in Australia, and we're going to miss him.
We send our condolences to everyone within the Moroney family and far-reaching into New Zealand as well. Oh, Lizzie, we reflect on the life and times of Mike Moroney, but they still do have a runner, of course, in the Australian Guineas today. And last weekend, as we saw in that package, one of the highlights of the last few years for Mike and his team with Cur Volant.
Yeah, absolutely, guys, and really well said. Coeur-Volant last week, we saw him on course. Richo interviewed him after such an emphatic victory in the Mannerism Stakes, and it was great to see her back in style, and she was back in big style. She's been such a talented mare all the way through her career, and for her to win in that type of fashion and see him on course was really, really special. I remember some fond memories of being at Flemington with him, watching walk past him in the track, and someone else who had some very fond memories is Wayne Hawkes. He's with Richo.
Well, a man who shared the Towers hut with Mike Moroney for 20 years, Wayne Hawkes, mate. Gee, I'm feeling for everyone who knew him so well. What a great man he was.
Yeah, he certainly was. I was, when you asked me to come and do this, Richo, I thought back to when I first moved to Flemington from Epsom Training Centre, and it was 1998 in March. Because remember, Flavour was our first winner who won a group race. So the people that remember Flavour, that's a long time ago. So what's that, 27 years ago? And Mike had, I think he was already there by the time I got there. So sitting next to someone 6 days a week for 27 years, you get to know a fair bit, and there is some stuff I cannot tell you on TV. I'm sorry. I'd love to have the Wayne Hawkes After Dark, because, geez, we did have some fun. Yeah. You talk about Big Brother back in the day with cameras everywhere. We always joked that if we could have written a book in that box and the walls had ears, it would have been great watching and great listening.
That baritone voice, a glass of Pinot, talking about racing, something he loves so much.
Yeah, he was an unbelievable Pinot drinker. He was the best. I would have to say he's the best red wine drinker that I ever sat with. But he always had a rule, Richo: 1 glass of Pinot, 1 glass of water. Right. Finish the Pinot, finish the water, and that was his.
He drank a lot of water.
He drank a stack of water. Good from you. Good from you. That's why they probably brought in the bottles of water to accommodate that. But yeah, look, he was larger than life, really, and look. I think his brother Paul summed it up the best yesterday at the Yearling sales, and he said to me and my father, he said, we knew it was coming, but it was still a shock when it actually happened. So, and it's hard to watch the decline of him too in the last couple of years, to actually see him, and then you don't see him for a while, then he was in hospital, and then just to see him and watch where he ended up. But you know what, he was there last Saturday, and I dead set bumped into him underneath the grandstand at Caulfield, and he said, well done, good on you, great win in the 2-year-old, the Blue Diamond. I said, well done to you. Yeah. Still punching him out, and off he went. So you know what, he finished where he started, and that was on a racetrack in theory.
Yeah, perfectly said, mate. Condolences to all, mate. A great man.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Incredible training career, an incredible guy as well, and wouldn't it be divine intervention if Plymouth was able to take out the Australian Guineas today, Richo? Of course, he's been a pretty talented horse. Angel Capital now out of the race. Glenn Thompson has been holding the fort for an incredibly long time, and this would be special, along with the Pam Gerard story as well.
Yeah, Savaglee, wouldn't that be extraordinary? So Pam Gerard has been the co-trainer at their Matamata base for many, many years, and then Pam now training in her own right, supported by Mike, and has the New Zealand 2000 Guineas winner here for a crack at the Australian Guineas, and he'll be remembered throughout the day today by all the jockeys who wear black armbands too.
And I think every single jockey has got a wonderful story about Mike. We heard Caitlin talking about Mike, but we've heard so many all the way through the past 2 days. Blake Shin in particular, and Michael Deere, fellow Kiwi. So very special scenes at Flemington this afternoon.
He was a proud New Zealander, Mike Moroney. Rest in peace, Mike. A tribute from the Seven Racing family to someone we'll miss a lot.